Don't you love it when you're at a photo shoot, you're clicking away, hitting off those photos, getting those bangers, looking at the LCD screen, they are looking fire. You are so excited. You get back to Lightroom, you pull them in, you look at them, and they're blurry. They're all slightly out of focus. Isn't that the best feeling ever? No, it is not. It sucks. You know what I'm talking about. You know. Will Simpson here, and welcome to Exploring Photography. Today we're gonna go over a few tips that will help you nail that focus and really get your focus crispy and spot on, because there is nothing worse, absolutely nothing worse than getting home, going into editing, having all of these fire photos that you absolutely love, and they're all slightly out of focus. It is the worst feeling. So let's get started with this video. Now, the first one might be common sense, might be the most obvious, but we've all been there. We've all made the mistake. It just happens. I know I've done it, so don't worry about it if you've done it. It's just one of those things that comes with practice. And the first one is adjusting your shutter speed. If you notice that your pictures are not sharp, tack sharp, and there's movement in the photo, even wind, gentle wind, or maybe your tripod shook, or maybe you're shooting something with your hand and you have handshake. Adjusting your shutter speed can be the one thing that can cause photos to blur. So if your shutter speed isn't high enough, it won't be sharp. So make sure you check that as the first one. The second one is to use a setting called focus peaking. Now, focus peaking is generally on mirrorless cameras. I don't believe it is on DSLRs. However, if you don't have focus peaking, that's okay. The next tips will help you. But for focus peaking, it's a setting that can turn on when you're in manual focus mode on your lens. What happens is the things that are in focus kind of turn red, they brighten up. Now, the reason I suggest using this is because you can use auto mode to select what you want to be on focus, and if you slightly miss it, or maybe it looks like it's focusing on the item, but it's not exactly on where you want it, then you can switch it to manual mode and then adjust it to get tack sharpness. Now, the cool thing about this, when you're in manual mode, and this is tip number 3, you can zoom in. Most cameras have a zoom in feature, which when you're in manual focus on your lens, on Canons, you press the little magnifying glass looking symbol on the back, and it'll zoom in so you can see where you're looking at and see where the focus point is, and then you can adjust the manual ring to get tack sharp focus. So this is super important because a lot of times the focus, the autofocus, even though it's getting so good, and most of the times you probably won't have to worry about this, but just another little feature, and works really good when you're on a tripod because then you can stabilize everything and there's no movement, so you're not going in and out of focus. But this can work really well to get that tack sharp focus, so you're not worrying too much about, oh, did I slightly miss it? Oh, am I too close? Switch it to manual mode, zoom in, either use peak focusing or the zoom in method, which will help you get those tack sharp photos. The next one, number 4, technically, I guess number 4 is do not move once you've locked focus. Now, what do I mean by this? This is a common mistake that I did a lot. I didn't even know I was doing it, and I did it a lot. So on some cameras, they don't have necessarily a tracking focus. When you're lined up with your camera and you're focusing on your subject and you focus, you press down the shutter or your lock focus button, which however you have it set up, you know, the half press on the shutter, it locks the focus. When you lock focus and then move or change your position and you don't re-lock focus, you can lose focus. So let's say I'm shooting a model, and you'll be my model. You're a great model. You'll be my model right now. So I'm shooting you, and let's say I have, just as a note, this is primarily a problem. For example, my 6D only has certain points of focus. My R5 has the full screen range of focus, so it can track. But for my 6D, it has, points up here, it has points in the middle, and it has points here. So let's say I want to frame my model over here, and it's outside of those points of focus. Well, what I used to do was I would set focus, and then I'd move, and then I'd take the picture. Set focus, and then I'd move, take the picture. So every time I did that, I set focus at a certain point, and then I moved the camera, losing focus. Let's say I focused on her eye, and then locked focus, moved the camera to frame her right, and then took the picture. Well, what does that do? That moves the focus point, so then the pictures come out slightly blurry. Not much, and if your aperture is high enough or small enough, you might not notice it at all. But when you're doing portraits and you're shooting 1.8, 1.4 or something like that, it can make a difference. So one thing to do, frame it right, set it on the focus point and click the picture. If you move or change positions or the model moves, relock your focus, and that should help you get those tack sharp model photos. And the final point simply is light. Cameras work with light. They read light, you're writing with light, that's what it means. So if you're trying to take a photo and it's too dark, your camera can have trouble focusing. Let's say you have two objects that are like this, and you're trying to focus on, here, you have two objects like this, and you're trying to focus here on the Canon, but it's dark. Let's say, there's no light around me and you just have this lit, but there's no difference, there's no contrast between these two. Well, it might focus on here. It might not be able to focus at all. A lot of times people will come to me and they'll say, my camera, it won't focus. It goes zzz, 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 and it never locks focus. Well, generally that's because there's not enough light for the camera to pick up enough contrast. Canon cameras specifically are really famous for this, at least so I've heard. They love lots of light. So add lots of light, really light your subjects and create that contrast, and you'll have a lot easier time locking focus where you want it and getting those sharp, tack sharp photos. So that is my 5 tips. 1, 2, 3, 4. I think that was 5. We're gonna go with 5. If it was more, fine. If it was less, fine. So those are my tips for nailing that focus. With these, I'm sure you will figure out why your photos aren't coming out tack sharp. And I think I've said tack sharp like 37 times this video, but that's okay because this video is making things tack sharp. You are nailing that focus after this video. So if this video hit it on the head, hit the nail on the head, go ahead and give it a like. Subscribe if you haven't already. I do videos like this every Monday at 7 p.m. Go ahead and comment and let me know what you thought. Or if you have another suggestion on how to nail that focus, comment below. That way people can go down and find other suggestions that will help them nail that focus. Otherwise, that's it for this video. You guys, it's been great to have you. I will see you next week. Does this have it? I don't know. Let me check and see if this has it. Manual, switch it to photo. Switch it to camera. We're gonna go ahead and go into auto so I can see. Gotta take the lens cap off. There we go. We're in manual. Choose autofocus method. No, okay. Yep. All right, good. Okay, good. Well, that handles it.